Yeah, I feel like I've got this ringing in my ears.
What do you mean?
So we got into the office this morning and the alarm has been going off. Everything's fine, but the alarm is going wee, wee, wee in the background. You probably hear it now. Listen. And we can't do anything about it because no one who's here now knows how to switch it off. So we're all just sitting here with tinnitus.
It's particularly bad when you first walk in.
Oh my God.
And you become a little disoriented.
Oh yeah, you start like walking into walls and shit.
Yeah. While I was in the escalator, what's it? You see, escalator, elevator. I grew an extra arm. Firstly. Secondly, I don't know if we're going to be able to function again in normal society.
No, I mean we're going to be running around in circles, kind of holding on to things as we walk and peeing all over, just peeing everywhere because the sound it goes right into your head.
When I got to the security point, he went, "Hello, good morning," and I wondered why. But now I understand. He's
but I just don't understand. It's like, some people can live with like noises going on. I'm not one of those people. If I hear something making a sound, I need to go and investigate and stop the sound. Otherwise, I'm not just going to be able to go to sleep or carry on with my day. I can't sit. If you ask me to write an email now in this, I'd shoot myself. I'm going to go to a coffee shop and do it. There's no way I can do it from here. It's going to go in and then out.
Maybe you'll get used to it.
No. There are people though that I think they must be either a bit brain damaged or not very smart, because it means that you essentially have to shut off a part. Maybe this is true for women who have husbands who snore or whatever.
Yeah.
That they're actually able to shut it off. But,
or men who have wives who whine.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, definitely. But the fact is that you actually are turning off a survival instinct to sort out and seek the cause of a very, very worrying noise. There's a reason alarms sound the way that they do, right? It's because it's meant to make people go, whoa, hang on.
Something's wrong.
Alarm.
But you did mention that you'd think that at one point it would stop.
Yeah, but it's just ongoing.
I mean,
you'd think it would run out of power, or
does it serve to carry on going if there was a break-in or something?
I don't know, but it's absolutely abominable. But we'll move on.
Yeah,
we have much to do, and we have many things to discuss this morning. And I hope that you're having a good start to your week and to your day. Well into the month of April now, and we've got lots to talk about. So let's start with me in a wig.
You in a wig? Did you wear one this weekend?
No, but this is really, really funny. So somebody took a couple of pictures of me and made an AI version of me from the, I don't know, 1700s or something.
As a man?
Yes, but wearing a wig.
Okay.
Like in the whole outfit and everything. But you could absolutely see it's me. So when AI gets it right, it's phenomenal, right?
Yeah.
When it gets it wrong, it's devastatingly shit.
Yes.
And then you have like an extra arm going out of your head, or
what
whatever.
happened to me in the lift.
Like what happened to you in the lift. But there it is. Look. Isn't that great?
I have to go a bit closer. I'm going to go a bit closer.
All right, go and have a look. Have a look. There's me with a wig.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
Yeah, look at that. Isn't that just terrific?
But look, you're about 80 years old in that.
Yes, but that's how I want to look when I'm 80 years old. So I've decided I'm going to...
You're going to grow out your hair?
No, I'm going to get a wig like that, a powdered wig, and I'm going to wear only that outfit, and I'm going to wear it everywhere I go. So...
it stinks from here already.
Yeah, whether I'm going to the garage to fill up with petrol, or if I'm going to a birthday party.
You have to actually frame that.
Well, I think it's pretty good. Again, like I'm still trying to figure out how to get the best results out of ChatGPT. But some people, the person who sent this one to me, she just knows exactly what the prompts are that get the best results. So again, this proves that even though AI is taking over everywhere, it's still human beings that have to be able to make the most sense out of it and direct it in the right sort of direction.
Yeah, definitely.
So,
I mean, it's bloody clever, but not that smart.
I thought me with a wig would make you
I like that very much.
All right. Then I had such a successful day on Friday.
Good.
Yes, I went to the post office. Now, normally a story about success doesn't start like this.
No, it ends with the post office.
So let me explain what happened. I get there and I have to collect a package from overseas. So I said to them, I got this SMS and it says I must come to this post office, but there's no number or anything. So she goes,
oh no.
But she's got a pile of papers like this there.
Yeah.
And she whips through them in great efficiency and finds mine. Miracle of miracles.
Oh, so it wasn't a scam or something?
No, she gives me the box. She's like, sign here. You got to pay this much. So I pay it. So I say to her, listen, how difficult is it to get your car license disc? She's like, yeah, it's not difficult. And I can see the post office is quiet, right? So I'm like, let me do this. Let me knock this out of the park and kill two birds with one stone, very literally. Now, I know this is boring to some people. To me, this is tremendous, okay?
Listen, when you get things right, when it comes to like admin.
I just love it. So here we are. I go, what do I need? So she goes, well, you need a copy of your ID or driver's license. You need money to pay for the thing. And you need to fill in this form. So I'm like, okay, cool.
Which you need your old disc for to transfer all the information.
No. So I ran up, listen, very efficient. So I said to her, can you make a copy of my license? She goes, no. That we can't do.
Oh,
even though I can see there's a photocopier sitting right there in the background. I'm like, I'll pay you 10 Rand for it. Like for one page
I'll
copy.
buy the copy.
She's like,
copy machine.
She says, but there is a little Indian chap next door and he'll make the copy for you in his little gadget shop. So I said, awesome. So I go to him. I'm like, can I have a copy of this? He goes, yeah, it's 5 Rand. So I go, credit card? He goes, it's too small to do 5 Rand on a credit card. So I say, is there ATM here? Yes, there's an ATM. So I run up to the ATM, draw, I don't know, 100, 200 Rand in cash. Then I think I'll go to the car, take a picture of that disc so I can just copy it over.
Nice.
No problem. Sitting there, fill in the form. Form's done. Copy made. Hand it in. She prints the thing and voila, I've got it. I've now got the package and the license. I felt like the king.
Have you cut around with your little scissors?
Oh, I've stuck it on the windscreen, proudly displayed it. Are you kidding?
Doesn't it feel archaic, that process?
I know, but Leigh-Ann, you know how when you expect something to be terrible, like I'd built up.
But you know what? You didn't go there for it.
No,
that's why it worked out.
And I scored.
Yeah.
I mean, I felt like, guys, do you think this is stupid and irritating? But I felt like I'd conquered the world. I was like, I got it. I got my car license disc. I got it. I did it in one sitting.
Yeah.
I didn't have to wait. I didn't have to queue. I didn't have to go through the motions. It was fantastic. So after that, I was unconquerable. I mean, I thought I'd won the lottery.
Oh, that's amazing.
It's the small things,
It's
Leigh-Ann.
like when you find the right queue, when there are 4 queues and you happen to just, because no one knows.
No, it's always a big guessing game, right?
And you find that right queue.
Oh.
Or like when I went to FNB and got my passport.
Oh, wow.
Instead of going to Home Affairs.
And was it wonderful?
Oh, what a breeze. It's almost ready. It's amazing.
I'm very impressed with that.
Yeah.
It's excellent. You see, there are things that are starting to work. The green shoots that they always talk about. Okay, so we've got a couple of things to get to this morning. I thought for those people who've had maybe a weekend of partying and enjoying themselves and maybe a little bit too much, you're feeling a bit sensitive and weak today, here's something from the 80s, a singer called Russ Abbot, who I think in Australia, must be, or New Zealand, one of those two. But it's from the 80s. And I thought, we often give the 80s too much credit. And we think, oh, well, time of booming economies and Margaret Thatcher and Ronald Reagan and, the fall of the Soviet Union and the fall of the Berlin Wall. Good time.
Best music.
Best music. Well, not when Russ Abbot enters the mix.
Oh, no.
And you've got to listen carefully to the lyrics of his song, Atmosphere.
Nice.
Which I think you're really going to like. All right, so give it a go, guys. Let's go.
It's Russ Abbot and his brand new album, I Love a Party, with Russ's monster hits, Atmosphere and All Night Holiday. Plus a bumper collection of all-time great party songs. Come on, join the fun with the party album of the year, Russ Abbot's I Love a Party. A party's just not a party without Russ.
Oh, wow. Okay, so...
You mean you didn't have that?
The party album of the year. Okay, so they've got atmosphere, which goes atmosphere. I love a real party with an atmosphere. That's the actual fucking lyric of that stupid song. Okay? The 80s were not all good. There were embarrassing and shit things about them that deserve a little introspection, okay? Plus, did you check what Russ Abbot was wearing? Yes, sis.
Those have come right back. That's the thing. He's
Unbelievable.
probably like trending. I liked his disco song, In the Disco, where he was minding the strings of balloons with his head.
Yeah. Remember those ribbons that in the 80s were a big thing at in order for people to know it was a party, because they wouldn't have known just by the people being around and music
and the punch
and drinking and punch. Okay. They wouldn't have known. There needed to be streamers.
Yes.
Otherwise, how would they know it was a party? And balloons, right?
When someone threw that streamer at you and it unwound, it was so exciting.
It's such magic.
For a tiny, thin piece of paper that probably landed in your mouth and dyed your face blue.
Yes, because they were always made with cheap dye that would go everywhere. And if someone dropped their whiskey or whatever, then everything would be streamer colored. Bright pink. And the 80s were famous for bright pink and neon green, luminous yellow.
Yeah.
You know? Let's watch it again. It's really, and I want you to pay special attention to the lovely song Atmosphere.
Okay.
Because its lyrical content is just extraordinarily good. Flex, you're going to love this. This is your favorite new song. Okay, let's go.
It's Russ Abbot and his brand new album, I Love a Party, with Russ's monster hits Atmosphere and All Night Holiday. Plus a bumper collection of all-time great party songs. Come on, join the fun with the party album of the year, Russ Abbot's I Love a Party. A party's just not a party without Russ.
It's not a party.
A party's not a party without Russ. Yeah.
We can't figure out that accent. It's kind of like a posh Australian accent.
Yeah, it's like smart Australian. Not like common Australian.
He looks like he could be common Australian, though.
Russ Abbot.
With his monster hit Happy Birthday.
I'm telling you, a guy like that, he was probably the most famous man in Australia for a while. I reckon he probably had so much money and so many women. He was probably a superstar in Australian terms.
He's probably dead.
Do whatever he wanted. No, why would I look him up? I have no interest in Russ Abbot. But
I want to know
suddenly you've
if
made me curious. Go on, look it up.
Sitting in front of a TV.
Maybe he became
in a wife beater.
Maybe he became a senator. Who knows? But there he is, Russ Abbot.
Is it a double?
Well,
yeah, there we go.
RUSS.
English comedy actor.
No.
English comedy actor. Oh, there he is.
Oh, you found him?
He's still alive.
No.
He's 77 years old.
My God.
He doesn't look bad. He looks basically the same. But he's an English musician, actor, and comedian born in Chester.
Oh, okay.
First came to public notice during the 1970s as the singer and drummer with the British show band, the Black Abbots.
That's probably quite racist now. Okay.
And he's still married. He got married in 1966, and he's still married to Patricia Simpson. And he's a tall bloke too, 1.94.
Wow. Okay. You see, we're discovering things we didn't know or think we ever needed to know.
And then the next commonly asked search is, what happened to Russ Abbot? I'm telling you, because he's wearing a wife beater, sitting in front of a TV.
No, he's a big star. This is what is a party without Russ Abbot?
And his monster hit, Happy Birthday.
Yeah. Okay, so have any of our listeners lost their minds yet, our viewers, with the sound of the alarm going off? Okay. So if you can't hear it, lucky you.
Yeah.
Really, because it's still ringing in my ears. I'm going to need brain surgery after this. Yeah.
Straight lobotomy.
I'm going to have to go, straight to the lobotomist. Is that what you call them?
Yeah.
They're still on the street.
One down every road.
Sure. I'm going to go to the lobotomist. They can trepan my head and just stick a thing in and pull out some brains. Because that's what I'm going to need after this. Are you also hitting your head?
Yeah, you see. It's like,
All right. Well.
Ingrained in there.
Back in the day, he was so big, Modern Talking used to open for him. Russ Abbot.
Really?
Sounds like your voice, Gareth. I'll go to hell. Oh, what's that? Is that Russ Abbot? Jesus, look at the state of Superwoman or whatever her name is.
But listen, Superwoman must be tall because he's tall.
Look at. I'm sorry. That's
not
is
a
that even a
small
woman?
you know.
That's not a woman.
It's quite a large.
Good God,
woman.
I can see her vagina lips from here. They're hanging out of the bottom of that skirt. The outer labia are making a massive statement. Good Lord, and those tits. So, put that on again. That's frightening. Is that the first picture that comes up when you look him up?
Oh, it's a star.
Good heavens, that's revolting. Okay.
He's got a
Wow.
nice white belt on, which goes with everything.
Oh my God. Gareth is just a hater. Let's go to the disco is an absolute banger, says Congo Chris. All right. Well, you know what? Maybe my experience of the 80s was marred by the fact that I didn't have enough Russ Abbot. Look at him. Unbelievable.
Love a party.
Okay. Supersized woman, lol. Russ Abbot can sing you a happy birthday. Oh, yeah, definitely. I think this is great. Okay. And then a lot of other people thrilled at my successes at the post office. Tracy
good.
saying she renewed her driver's license card on the 5th of January and she's still waiting. My temporary license is about to expire. Dang, that one laminating machine. Yeah.
It's so frustrating. You've got to try to not let your blood boil.
Well, I was pulled over by the cops the other day, and the guy said to me, because he was trying to, like, obviously they're on a big money-making exercise at the moment. So if you're driving around Gauteng, you'll see their roadblocks all over the place, and they've got the credit card machines ready to go. And I had 2 outstanding fines, which for me is not a lot at all. And I was quite impressed with myself. Only 2? The guy said, yeah, and you must renew your driver's license.
Car
license.
Yeah.
I was like...
Was it expired or was it...
No, still there. It was still good. But anyway, it's amazing. They've got these 2 vans, and there's a guy who sits at a desk, big fat guy, and he goes, credit card. And you give him it's like Jabba the Hutt, and then you give him the credit card, and you think, I'm never going to see this again. He's going to eat it.
They're going to drive
and then
off with
then he takes a credit card, and it goes beep on the machine, and he says, budget or straight. I'm like, no, just take it. It's fine. Then it just comes off your phone. You just see it going, oh, there we go. All gone. Very disappointing, but there we are. I think you want to be updated with all that stuff because you don't want to give them a reason.
No, exactly.
To like lock you up.
I'm always about 2 or 3 years behind on my license disc.
Oh my God.
And I used to, it'll happen again, but I used to drive in fear before I had it renewed.
Yeah.
Because I have been caught out a few times. But when, if you drive a 15-year-old car, they tend to be a little bit more lenient, especially if you open the boot and you've got like bits of clothing in there and it looks like you live in your car.
Yeah.
And they're quite lenient.
Yes, actually, that's a good point. You should just leave like a lot of packets of uneaten stuff.
Toothbrush.
Yeah. Just leave it all there. So that's not Wonder Woman, that's Wonder Bra Woman in the picture with Russ Abbot. We cannot hear an alarm, but Russ was Jimmy Abbott's brother. No, I don't think so. I think they were totally different, but there we are. Russ looks like he rolled with Prince Andrew in his younger days. Entertainment for the weekend. Maybe they used to book Russ as the singer.
They could definitely
on Epstein's Island. Who knows? That's why I always drive drunk, says Carl. If you're drunk, they don't pay attention to your license at all. And then those roadblocks are illegal. They can't force you to pay, says Bitcoin. But well, what are you going to do? What, are you going to start a fist fight with them? You're going to have to pay.
It's actually more convenient than having to go and find where you must pay online.
Yes, actually.
You met with errors.
Good point. Yeah.
You don't know if it's gone through or not.
Yes.
They come to you.
Viasen says that Russ Abbot, who seems to be fast gaining popularity with our audience as well.
Yes.
I think he's going to make a comeback.
I told you.
Russ Abbott reminds Viasen of Bless Bridges. Bless Bridges is like the Afrikaans.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of the same thing.
Yeah, like that type of shirt.
Yeah.
What's happened to Bless?
No, Bless is dead.
Oh, yes, he is too. Oh, Bless.
Yes. All right. So that's very good. The only thing you can do is refuse to pay, and then they waste your time until you pay. Yeah, but you see, I don't want to do that. I was on the way home. It was 3 or 4 in the afternoon. I don't want to have a reason to wait at the side of the road
Mm.
for an hour because they want to mess me around. So I'll just pay. And I know that they know that. That's why they set themselves up there. There's
Yeah.
nowhere else for you to go. You
I
can't
haven't
avoid
got a
it.
fine in ages.
Well, they're still out there, Leigh-Ann.
I used to budget for them.
Yeah, I
What's happened?
still budget for them.
Have I got older, or are there less cameras?
No, I think there are still lots of cameras.
Maybe because I'm older and wiser, I know where they are.
Probably. But then we've also got great things like Waze, which I love.
Yeah.
Warns you. Oi, you can't hear that?
Can still hear it.
Oh,
Yeah.
the alarm. It's going to drive me crazy. All right. Shame. Congo Chris says Bless drove off Chapman's Peak.
Did he?
I don't know. It sounds like a hell of a way to go. I don't remember what happened to Bless Bridges. I hope you're not misleading us here, Congo Chris.
I can't not know anymore.
Good heavens. You need to know everything, huh?
Yeah.
You've got Google on standby. All right. Well, while Leigh-Ann's busy with that, we've got a couple of stories in the news that are making headlines. What?
Motor car accident, March 2000, leaving behind his wife, Leonie, and children, Sunette and Victor.
Okay. Now, you're going to go down that rabbit hole or?
No, all done.
All right. Very good. So here's an interesting story talking about South African entertainment. All right. Veteran South African actors are falling into poverty due to a flawed entertainment industry that lacks legal protection, social security, and royalty rights for performers. That's what the Actor and SA Guild of Actors chair, Jack Devnarain, says. He's been here in the studio with us before. This comes after actress Nandi Nyembe shared her financial struggles, sparking renewed outrage over once celebrated artists and how often they end up destitute. Despite years of advocacy, progress has stalled, most recently with President Cyril Ramaphosa referring crucial copyrights and performers' rights bills to the Constitutional Court. Minister Gayton McKenzie has pledged personal support and broader reform, but systemic change remains slow. Look, I don't know why we always have to have this discussion, okay? It's and I don't wish for anyone to be impoverished, obviously. But if you're an actor or a singer or a dancer or a theater performer, I got bad news for you. You're going to end up in poverty. That's just how it goes. Like, you actually have to have other skills that the world really needs, that South Africa really needs. Very few, maybe 2-3% of all the actors will be able to retire comfortably.
Yeah.
The rest of you, straight into poverty.
Do you think it is like South Africa only?
No, I think this has to do with the fact that actors and dancers and singers are not essential to any economy. They're entertainment. That's all.
And we know, that became relevant during COVID when they battled the most.
Yeah, because people were like, well, too bad. And I'm afraid,
But
listen.
then how do actors like Macaulay Culkin, who was famous for a second?
You see, they get paid in different ways in America, so that does have something to do with it. But also, he was the star of a big movie when he was a kid. So if he'd kept, I don't know, a quarter of that fortune in investments, in an interest-bearing account, he would have been all right for at least the next 15 years of his life. Because it was a big budget, massive movie at the time, and he was, 12?
But I mean, you can't actually blame and put comedians in the same bracket.
Absolutely.
You can't blame someone who's really hitting it hard and is booked out and super popular for not getting into a mindset of, I've made it.
No, well, also the drugs. I mean, unfortunately, the entertainment business is full of A-type personalities who are on the go all the time, and they work hard, play hard, and then they end up, pissing away a large part of their fortune.
No, I saw recently
not easy.
And chatted to him was Loyiso Bala.
Yeah, he's such a smart guy.
Yes, and his wife. What an amazing team they are. He emceed an event that we had for a new brand launch, and he's one of the faces of the brand as well. And I don't know if being a good, well-balanced person has something to do with sustaining a life like that.
That's why I'm saying there is a percentage of entertainers who will do fine and will make enough money to be able to retire or at least have a very comfortable life. The rest of Most will not. If you're an actor in South Africa, let's just take acting. And I always give actors shit on the show, and it maybe isn't fair, but we may have to get Jack Devnarain in again. The fact is, if you are a successful actor in South Africa, you have recurring work on soap operas. That's it. Maybe if you're lucky, you get a movie every now and then. You get to do a TV ad every now and then. I mean, we've had my friend Shamila in here. She's an actor too. And she's as successful as they come right now. I mean, she's doing very, very well. But I don't know whether in South Africa that is entirely sustainable, because the market is so small and people are not spending, millions and millions of rands on movie productions. They're just not. So when Americans or Europeans come here and film their stuff here, they're doing it because it's cheaper. And they're doing it because our actors are probably, if they're going to cast some of them, also going to be cheaper. Yeah. So I don't know how to win this one, and I feel bad for these actors, but I do want to say, I'm just tired of every time one of these guys or girls hits the skids and, they're destitute or whatever, that everybody else has to come to their rescue. Like, there's a place and time, and obviously everyone can decide when they want to help, and I don't have any problem with that. But it's kind of embarrassing that we have to read these news stories about this one needs help, that one needs help, this one needs help. And eventually you realize, like, the whole entertainment business just needs help. So I hope Gayton McKenzie's on top of this, because if there is a solution from the politicians, I don't know what it is, and I hope he finds it. And, let's hope that they don't all end up like Russ Abbot.
Oh, no, he's lived long. He's been married for long. I think that in itself is a success, even if he's wearing a wife beater and hitting a TV with antennas sticking out of it.
Is that your idea of?
Definitely.
Is that your idea of what he's going to? Is that also what you think, like, an old husband always ends up doing?
I think so. Maybe
like Al Bundy from.
I think that's maybe been my reference growing up.
So that's what you think of when you think of, like, this is how a husband will end up after being with his wife for too long.
Yeah.
All right. So apparently we go back to that Nigerian rapper with his McLaren, remember, in Cape Town? So Dirk says, what a shocker. He has a side hustle. Yeah. The Nigerian rapper's name is pronounced Trigger Baby. Three gar baby. So now we know.
Oh, Triga.
Yeah, correct.
Okay.
And then Max Sony asks, how was the Darren Scott thing this weekend? Well, it didn't happen. There was some kind of a problem and they had to cancel it. So I don't even know what the story is there. We'll figure it out, though. As long as we don't all end up paying for that solution, says Mapelo. Yes, he means the solution for the actors and actresses.
Yeah.
Because we've already paid to see them perform.
Yeah.
We don't need to pay again because they're poor. You know what I mean? Gareth, talking about celebs who hit the skids, how is that backer buddy for Darren Scott? No, well, they raised money. And, Darren, again, I mean, he lived in America for a while. He, for a long time, did very, very well. I know that he's undergone a whole bunch of health crises in a row, like one thing after the other. And as I said, you can help whoever you want to help. I feel in his case, it's worth helping. And I don't know what the current state of affairs there is, but I'll find out. I mean, if you want to help, if you want to give the homeless guy on the side of the street 5 rand, you do it. If you want to help a friend of yours who's in hospital with some emergency, you do it. If you want to bail a mate of yours out because he gets pulled over by the cops and can't afford the fines, then do that. But I'm sure that there are people all over the place who are in need. I just don't think that a whole category of people need to have ministerial attention paid to them because they're actors, and it's very hard to be an actor. Come on. It's only in this is the first proper era in human history in the last sort of 50 to 100 years where actors have been thought of as rich and successful. Before 1900, actors were thought of as poor and mostly prostitutes.
Yes, that's true.
Right? So it's only Hollywood.
Entertainment for the king.
No, it's Hollywood who made us think that actors should be rich and successful. Let's see if TV licenses will now cost 1,000% more to pay for this new plan. Well, the only idiot who'll fall for that's me. Yes, I still get, like, in the office, I get so much cuck from people about the fact that I paid my TV license.
It's just to shut them up, though.
I
That's
know,
all it is.
it's like this alarm. If you could
It's like a
just
mosquito.
pay them to shut it up.
Yeah.
Okay. There's no way his name was pronounced like that. It's just as awful with Trigger Baby. It's so bad. I still want to know, like, how he can afford that car. Don't you?
He's going to end up in a wife beater hitting the side of a TV.
You really have that. That picture is firmly lodged in your head, huh? Back in ancient Greece, actors were thought of as less than prostitutes. We should go back to that.
Yeah. I mean, and if they were anything less than slightly entertaining, they'd have rotten tomatoes thrown at them.
Yeah, correct. That was their payment sometimes.
Yeah.
All right, so let's look at a much more interesting story. Leigh-Ann's got a couple of these that she wants to tell us about this morning. There is a website that can find almost every single picture of you that exists. That's frightening.
They're calling it the most disturbing website on the internet.
What is it? Go on. I'm going to look it up right now.
Look, okay, there is an exception to the rule, but just to let you know, it is called PimEyes.
How do you spell that?
PIMEYES.
Okay, PimEyes.
So you're going to have to. There is a paid version. I obviously just tried the normal one, but you have to upload a photograph of yourself, and then AI does the rest, right?
But it says here consent.
Yeah, I didn't consent
Details,
to anything.
Add settings about, so it starts with all of that.
Yeah, don't consent to anything.
Okay, I won't consent to anything.
It still allows you to go through.
Now I wants me to upload a photo.
Yeah, it's got to access your photo gallery, which I took the chance.
No.
I took the chance. What? You're going to access photos of me? There are photos of me all over.
No, but Leigh-Ann, you're letting it into everything, your friends, your family, your.
What is it going to do with us? Look at our pictures of us around the Christmas tree.
Maybe. And then plot and scheme.
No, I'm not that
so?
important. I'm not that
You don't
important.
think AI is going to plot and scheme against you and your family?
So I put in a photograph of myself. Either this photo was the worst photo in the world.
Yes.
But 100% of the photos that came out were me.
Oh.
But 100% of them were from our podcasts.
Oh.
And nothing else.
That's it, huh?
Just from our podcast. So it wasn't like I found, look at that picture my mom must have posted, to her church group one day. There's nothing like that.
Oh.
And that's kind of what the website promises.
Yeah.
But I think we have to try it on someone who may not be all over the internet.
All right. So let's find someone who nobody cares about, who's never. James, won't you?
Are you busy right now? Will you put down your crocheting and come here,
so
please?
PimEyes is an online face search engine that goes through the internet to find pictures containing given faces. PimEyes uses face recognition and search technologies to perform a reverse image search. Find a face and check where the image appears online. Our face finder helps you find a face and protect your privacy. Well, I mean, how? How does it protect your privacy?
Yeah.
That's nonsense. Facial recognition online systems allow you to search by image. Now, what I would like is, I'd like a big button, like a big red button that you could press just to remove everything of you from the internet, or a big green button to say, leave it all on.
Yeah.
That's what I want.
Always
I want
think
a website that says,
Emma Sadler.
We'll get rid of everything or we'll keep everything.
And how she helped many people, particularly celebrities and well-known people who are in high-power jobs, to sift through their social media from the past and just pick out anything that may not be acceptable now that we didn't think of then. If there was anything like that, I'd like that removed. But pretty much, I think I'm okay. It mostly will be drunk photographs in nightclubs with strangers.
Well, I mean, if you want advanced versions of this,
you can pay
6,853 Rand, 99 cents a month.
What?
Yes, that allows you to perform unlimited searches day and night, up to 500 PimEyes alerts. So whenever anyone uploads a picture of you,
you'd have to be the president
support,
to use that, surely.
And yeah, I mean, Not my idea of necessary. The cheapest one is the Open Plus one, which is 685 Rand a month. That's still steep. I mean, I think about
a month. I mean,
Apple Music,
yeah.
which it gives me access to the library of music that exists on Earth.
Mm.
And that's like 60 Rand. That's a tenth of this. PimEyes can kush me and tochus as far as I'm concerned. And you can unlock current results.
I think if you were like a big time judge or...
No, but what for? Like who's... The more important you are, the more pictures of you there are.
But surely you would... Yeah, I mean, I would pay it once off, you know, just to sift anything out. But how much do you doubt yourself if you have to do it every month?
Well, maybe you got a lot to hide.
Maybe you're partying hard on the weekends.
But I don't know who cares about like drunk pictures of people. I don't think that's a thing anymore.
Might be like prostitution.
Well, yes. I mean, that's different. Acting prostitution, like we discussed earlier. All right. As long as we all don't end up paying for that too, just as Mapelo said about the actors earlier. Why are you willing to give AI your biometrics? Says Azalea. Yeah, you see, I mean, that worried me a little bit about these pictures that AI's generated.
Again, I just don't think I'm that interesting. You know,
I would rather show my support to the AI overlords now and make sure I'm on the right side of the AI takeover. Allow the AI to access your gallery, almost like an ANC favor, says Carl from PE.
Just click yes, consent.
Oh no, I hope it doesn't find a Twitter account I created when I was 13.
Oh.
I got rid of it long ago, just scared the shit out of me. I posted it out there, still exists somewhere on the dark web, says somebody. Yeah, I don't really.
You see?
The alarm has stopped. Oh, my head. I can breathe at last. The sky is clear.
Somebody came to the offices at 20 to 7.
That's wonderful.
And had the answer.
All right. My Oma has all the important pics in her scrapbook.
Yeah, that's a safe place.
That's a much safer place than the internet's.
Yeah.
All right, but there we are. So apparently, Leigh-Ann's little website here that she's telling us about, you can find any picture of you. So for anybody who's worried about that stuff, good luck. It's going to cost you a fortune, but if you want to go and scrub the internet, find all the pictures of you, have a happy time. All right.
In a related story,
go on.
Woman left horrified after AI steals her identity for an X-rated pill advert.
No.
That
X-rated pill advert.
It is a related story, but it happened in April last year. So I mean, what's the worst? An X-rated pill. X-rated pill. What is that like?
Must be a hard-on pill or something.
A hard-on pill.
Yeah.
If I found my face on that, I'd find it freaking hilarious.
Leigh-Ann's.
You know? Leigh-Ann keeping you hard all day long. I'd love it. I'd frame it. You know?
Put up the picture of Russ Abbot and his Superwoman. That should be the cover with your name written on it. Leigh-Ann's hard-on pills.
I mean, wouldn't you be proud if it was your face in that picture?
No.
I'd love it.
What the hell is that picture? I'm sorry. What is that? What is the big C on his shirt for where it's meant to be an S? Is it for cunt?
It looks like he's got boobs hanging out in his under the sea.
That's so terrible. All right. That's bad. Leigh-Ann eject specialist, lol. No, I don't think erect specialist is probably what they mean.
Maybe.
The hard pills. But you know what? You think about these people who've ended up as memes. Like you often see the story about the guy who was in that Norwegian chap with the beard.
Yes.
And all of those things.
The old guy.
Or the kid who's like doing that
he's
one.
in a lot of erection memes and
I'm
things.
sure, right? He can't do anything about that. No. He's just got to live with it.
And actually, most of the stories behind these memes with these people now, 20 years later, they're perfectly functioning people.
Of course, yeah. There was just that one older black dude with the enormous penis sitting on the edge of the bed.
Oh, yes.
He killed himself.
Oh,
not good. He was just tired of seeing... Don't laugh.
Oh, dear.
It's very cruel. So he's no longer around. But most of them have ended happily.
Yes.
Yes. All right. So apparently there's a cure, a global cure for HIV.
Very, very close. Being tested on humans, which is a good thing.
Tell me more.
Usually when we find out about these things, they're still being tested on mice. And it's being headed by a team of scientists in KZN, University of KwaZulu-Natal.
Oh, nice. So we can be proud of this if it works.
Really amazing.
Good.
So they've conducted proper cure trials on Umlazi women with positive and promising results.
Okay.
They had a group of 20 women from Umlazi who stopped taking their antiretrovirals for 18 months. The trial test found that 20% of the women were able to control viral load to an undetectable level. 20%, few tweaks here and there. You know, let's see how it goes. The head of it is UKZN's Professor Tumbindungu. And they've tested a combination of antibodies to combat HIV.
Is that him?
Yeah, that's him.
Good for him.
I mean, these tests have been going on for ages. You know how quickly we found a vaccine for COVID, so-called.
Well, didn't work.
You just think how many years actually go into finding a cure for something like that.
That's exactly why we should have been suspicious when they did tell us about that COVID one. This is quite scary. Just to go back to the AI thing for a second. Vyasan says, I just took an image of myself and I sent it to my computer and used that image to open my banking app. Just tried it now. How scary is that?
Oh.
Woo. You know, facial recognition, right?
Yeah.
So if you have two devices, you take a picture of yourself on this one, use that as the image to log in. I don't like that at all. That's very scary. And then it's out of control, needs to be dialed down. It's too much. It breaches so many privacy laws that it's really the biggest invasion of privacy in our era. Gareth, I can badly Photoshop you and Leigh-Ann onto that Russ Abbot picture after the show. I'll tag you guys in it.
I can badly Photoshop
you. Do it. You know what? That'll be fun. Congo Chris. Marpello says the most irritating craze on social media right now is a cartoon photo of people. Everybody wants to be a cartoon character with huge eyes and lips all of a sudden. Yeah, that is
avatars.
Gilly, whatever it's called now.
Yeah.
Ghibli, something like that. Leigh-Ann, if they have positive results, then it didn't work for HIV. But that's great news. So coincidence now that the US has stopped AIDS funding to most of the world, so pharma is losing billions and treatments are not profitable anymore. Yeah, it could be something to do with that. Never add facial recognition, fingerprint unlock, and card tapping function to your life, says Bitcoin But. Well, I have to tell you, I use all three. I know that, and it does worry me a lot. But what else are you going to do?
I'd actually take a few years of convenience and not having to type in a password.
On the off chance that
chance that I might lose all of my money.
Jesus, that's a hell of a thing to say, huh? But I think you're right. Yeah. Most people would choose convenience. Oh my God. Ricky Lowe says, I just had a co-pilot training session and the AI made so many mistakes and it made things up. Yeah, it does. It sometimes makes things up. You can easily clone someone's voice, says Christian.
So that's like a scam that's been happening. And that's why families now tend to have a password.
Hey, there's Dr. Hanan. He just popped up out of the blue. Look at that. Hey, Dr. Hanan. I thought you were AI for a second there. I was like, oh my God. He just pops up out of the blue. Like, wow. Surprise, surprise.
Just checking up. How are you guys doing?
We're very good, thank you. Are you worried that your face exists on the internet and that they can clone your voice and that someone will use your image to unlock online banking and steal your money? We all should be worried about this stuff.
Yeah, but to your point, what's the alternative to kind of live in the archaic age of writing and things on paper and not having any passwords or not putting your fingerprints on anything? What's the alternative? So I choose convenience and not worry about things that I can't control.
All right, but we've got a far sexier thing for you to address this morning. So this is from Anonymous, and it goes like this. I wanted to suggest a topic for Dr. Hanan, the idea of daddy issues and the psychological impact of absent or emotionally unavailable fathers. It's something I've personally struggled with, and I believe many others do too. Even if it's hard to admit, I'd love to hear Dr. Hanan's take on where it stems from, how it affects us in later life, and ways to begin healing from that kind of emotional damage. So where do we begin?
All right, so let's start with the definition. First of all, children do need parents' input. As I've said many times, your parents are the co-pilots of your life. They can either make you feel secure on your flight or make you feel insecure on your flight.
Mm-hmm.
And if your parents, mom or dad, in this case, dad issues in inverted commas, your dad is unavailable, or your dad gaslights you, or emotionally is not around, physically is not around, then you'll feel insecure. You'll feel that you are not getting from point A to point B. And one thing that kids do is, especially younger kids, they tend to blame themselves. They don't have the intellectual capacity to go, well, it's just dad, or it's just mom and dad that are fighting, it's them. But rather they go, what's wrong with me? Where have I gone wrong? Why am I not good enough? Why am I not worth it, worth the fight, worth dad being there, or worth mom being there, or worth mom and dad being together and getting along? So the self-blame is very, very evident later on in life. And what ends up happening as adults, we overcompensate in one of two ways. One, we withdraw from social or romantic relationships because we don't trust. So we lose faith in other people's ability to calibrate us, other people's ability to be there for us emotionally. So we'd rather do this ourselves, which is a very self-punishing pattern where you kind of live alone and do this thing on your own when you should be relying on other people. The other thing, the other way to overcompensate, the other side of the coin or the spectrum, is people then seek validation from older figures. So they attach themselves to the thing that's been missing all their lives, and they try to correct the wrong, close the loop by overcompensating and leaning on older figures for self-validation at their own cost. So what I mean by that is that the need for self-validation is so high that they would rather have the self-validation with the wrong person than have the right person in their lives that validates them in healthy ways. So those are the two extremes. They don't seek validation at all. They want to do this on them by themselves, and they end up gaslighting themselves, or they overcompensate by leaning on older people for self-validation at the cost of their own self-worth.
All right, because I've heard of like daddy issues, and there are all these stories about how if you find a very attractive girl who has daddy issues, then that's the perfect relationship, because she's going to look to you, as you say, for this older role model thing, but also she's a total like chocolate fireplace. So,
you could probably have a lot of control over her. Yeah. Is that the perception?
I certainly don't. That doesn't sound like a good thing to me.
No.
Have you ever encountered this in your practice?
A lot, and it's incredibly unhealthy, where the girl seeks self-validation and the older guy looks for the younger girl, so the trophy wife or the trophy girlfriend that he can parade around and increase his sense of self-image and self-worth in front of his own circle. But the connection point is unhealthy, because the connection point is, well, I need self-validation at the cost of myself, while the older guy is seeking the trophy wife at the cost of perhaps somebody that's meaningfully adding to his life. It doesn't work. The dynamic doesn't work.
I literally saw this weekend. I was at a nail salon, and a very attractive woman walked in, and she was sitting waiting for her husband, who I think was at the hairdresser next door. And he came out, and I thought they were complete strangers, but they were actually husband and wife. And he was paying for one of her treatments that she'd had earlier. And he said loudly, "Should I pay for my wife's treatment, or should I make her pay for it?" It was so embarrassing, so cringe.
Yeah.
He said sometimes when she pays, that's when she feels powerful.
In front of everybody.
And he was like, 20 years her senior. Exactly what we've just spoken about now.
Ugh. Yeah.
Yeah, but having said that, I just want to highlight that you get older guy, younger girl connection that really does work, and you get older woman, younger guy connection that really can work. It's very unusual and very unique, but it can work when the connection point is healthy, as opposed to self-validation versus the way you make me look in public. But rather when the self-validation or the connection point is healthy for what is sustainable for a relationship, it can really work. So age, they say it's just a number, even though it's very unique, it can work when the common denominator is healthy.
All right. So what has happened is that this term daddy issues has been bandied about for all kinds of reasons. I think you just explained and defined it properly for us. But people misread this stuff, and then they also inject their own and project their own nonsense into it. And they use it as an excuse for bad behavior. It's like everything else that gets used as an excuse for bad behavior. I've got a mental health condition, or I wasn't raised properly, or my dad wasn't present when I was growing up, or I've got terrible ADHD. I can't concentrate for more than 5 seconds.
I've also heard the theory that women with daddy issues tend to have weight problems.
Yeah, I mean, is any of this valid, or are these people just using it as an excuse?
Yeah, you know my philosophy really well by now. I don't subscribe to that model. I don't subscribe to the go fishing model. The go fishing model is I'm overweight, and let me now go look at my past to realize why I'm overweight. I go fishing. I'm in a bad relationship. Let me go fishing. Let me go figure out what happened in my past to make me understand why I'm in a bad relationship.
It can't possibly be that I can't stop eating. It must be that my dad wasn't around enough when I was younger.
Exactly.
Can't possibly be that I'm shoveling cake into my mouth.
Yeah, of course not. It's obviously because my dad was not present, or my school teacher bullied me when I was 12 years old, or because my mother didn't feed me with my favorite X, Y, and Z food, or I don't know, a million reasons. That's why I say I don't subscribe to the model of going fishing, because if you go fishing, you always catch something. And you connect the dots in funky ways. And never mind you connect the dots in funky ways, but we can create things that don't exist. I always tell people, if you ask me to describe my day yesterday, or Gareth or Leigh-Ann, if I ask you to describe your day yesterday from start to finish, in reality, you'd be probably at best be 50% accurate. And that is just your day yesterday. If I asked you to describe what you did on Friday, well, then you'd be 30% accurate. Now try to describe what you did or what happened when you were 16 or 22
it's impossible.
or 25.
And just by the way, also, I mean, like, our memories are so shit. People always think the way I remember it is how it had to have happened. And this is the cause of so many fights in relationships and everywhere else. We don't remember a damn thing. They've proven that a human being who's actually been through a very traumatic thing, like a car accident or whatever, within a couple of days of the accident, they start remembering a completely different version to what actually happened. When they see a video of what happened, they're like, that's not me. Because your own memory is so
fills in the gaps. Yeah.
And believe me, everybody thinks they remember, right? Like they've got the best memory of anybody else. Everyone, your memory is completely unreliable. I just hate to break it to you. It's totally unreliable. So as Dr. Hanan says, don't imagine for a second that you can remember back to when you were 8 or 9 and something terrible happened and how that's going to affect you for the rest of your life. Your memory's already got massive holes in it.
Yeah. And the truth is, it's very empowering to know that your memory is unreliable, because the moment you realize the fact that your memory is unreliable, will you stop then relying on it? Because you make things up. And going back to the analogy of trying to describe yesterday, the truth is, if I tried to describe yesterday's events from start to finish after a cup of coffee, I'm going to describe it very differently compared to if I describe it after a bad night's sleep, or a terrible phone call, or traffic on the road. So your memory is completely influenced by your mood. If I'm in a good mood, I'm going to describe yesterday in a certain way. If I'm in a bad mood because a taxi driver just cut me off, or I'm late to work, or I received a terrible phone call, well, then I'm going to describe yesterday through a different lens. So you can't go fishing. So going back to the daddy issues, you can't describe what's going on to you today based on what has happened in the past because it's unhelpful and inaccurate, and even worse, it's actually quite dangerous because you could be making things up. Because even if you could describe the past accurately, they just say your memory was 100% photographic, you knew exactly and you know exactly what has happened.
Mm-hmm.
How do you place blame on something that has happened? How do you know what percentage that took and the reason why that has created this?
Yeah.
So how do you know the fact that your teacher, kicked you out of class at 16 and that, how do you know how much that affected you? So you think, oh my God, that affected me 80%, but how do you know it only affected you? How do you know it didn't affect you 100% or 20%? Well, we make it up. So we can't assign blame on what's going on today based on what has happened then. It's way more helpful to look at your patterns today and ask yourself, is it helpful? Am I living my life according to my own framework, my own rules, my own goals? Yep. And if the answer is yes, you are happy, enjoy. And if the answer is no, then change your patterns today. Don't look in the rearview mirror to help you ascertain why you're behaving today, because you've just wasted time looking backwards, as opposed to using those coins to change your behavior and to change your patterns today to help you reach your current goals, your current ambition, your current vision.
Couldn't agree more. And just to bring it back to AI, they are going to remember. The machines will remember everything and we won't. So there's going to be a point where ultimately I do think we're going to get to a stage where these machines are going to be able to detect a lie. And if you don't remember something and you're making it up, or if you're lying, they'll do a retinal scan, or they'll be able to measure your blood pressure through a fancy camera that you don't even know is on you. And before you know it, this machine will be saying to you, no, I'm afraid that's a lie. And you won't be able to bullshit it anymore. That's going to be a major step in human evolution where we can't lie anymore.
Yeah.
Where lying becomes, something which can be detected immediately, no matter how good you thought you were at it. Imagine how that'll change things. So that's truly scary. Maybe we should talk about that next week.
That's scary. That's scary. Suddenly you're faced with reality. You can't make things up anymore.
Right. And Dr. Hanan, lying has been an evolutionary development which has served humans very well. Humans have been able to lie, and it's pushed us into some quite advanced situations and sometimes some very good developments in human societies. But imagine if lying is no longer an option, which will be potentially one of the routes that we could end up in.
That's interesting. I wonder how that affects us psychologically. I would think, though, that will make us better, because finally we have to deal with real facts as opposed to imagined fantasies. Yeah. So, the AI will just calibrate us. They'll tell us, no, that didn't happen. And now I've got to deal with the reality of what did. Yeah.
And you can sit there and moan and whine and complain about the machine, but it's not going to feel any different. It's not going to go, well, I'm hearing you and I sympathize and I empathize and I want to be compassionate, but it can do that. And there are AI programs that are like psychologists, right? But the fact is, if you are blatantly lying to yourself, it will become not just untenable, but unfashionable for you to lie to these things.
Think of how many relationships will break up.
Yeah, they'll say to you, listen, you're just actually in this situation, Gareth or Leigh-Ann or Hanan, you're wrong. You're just wrong. Just stop. You're wrong. And there's no court of higher appeal. Like, you can't go, well, if you won't listen to me, then my ex-girlfriend will. And you'll storm off, because it's like the AI has got you right there and you have to account for yourself. I think it's great.
Yeah, well, we mustn't underestimate the power of the human condition to hear the AI and just just unplug it.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's going to happen too. That's exactly right. All right. Well, we'll talk about that next week, but have a good week at work this week. Yep. Sort out a lot of those head cases of yours.
Well, do you two guys. See you then.
Cheers, Dr. Hanan. All right. Very good. Leigh-Ann Mol is here with me. We are going to be joined by Big Daddy Liberty, Sihle Ngobese, in just a short while. And we've also got some sport with James. So I know that's what you've come for this morning. I know that's what you're excited about. We'll get to that and a whole lot more next.
Well done. You are here for another episode of the On The Bounce Show, your weekly sporting fix, no matter if you're a smug Liverpool supporter or an in need of a therapist Man United one. In studio this week, Bena Sandile, welcome back the man, the myth, the Greek legend. He is the heavy D to our boys. It is Dimitri Leontakis. For this special coming together, this week's Sporting Showcase is all about sport's greatest photos. Those wonderful moments in time captured by mostly unheralded oaks with long lenses who cover the globe to immortalize what makes sport truly unforgettable. This is an episode truly for the ages, so let's get into it.
Freestyle, right? So
you're kissing, you're doing
you're kissing this girl, whatever, you fall into the bed, whatever. And it was like so awkward for the female actors, for the actresses, because
niggas would get hard on.
Yeah, and also niggas take advantage.
Niggas, that's what I'm saying, dog.
You're kissing this girl, you're swallowing her whole face. You know what I mean?
Take one.
It's just,
getting carried away. You're getting into it.
Carried away. Fast forward to today.
Intimacy.
There's intimacy coaches.
Where's the flavor?
So it's literally like there's an intimacy coach.
It's
like a choreographer. So now it's like it's literally like where are you comfortable me touching you? Can I touch you here? Yes. Can I touch you? Yes. No.
Nice.
I can't touch me there. What's the you even ask first, can I step into your space? Yes.
Sure.
Can I step into your space?
Yeah.
And it's
professional.
Very professional.
I guess that safeguards everyone.
And also, it's not necessarily Guti, it's a Metaya Mantombazani who are also violated. Because Natis are a snake. You are sport.
Come on.
Fine. Now,
talk your player. Talk your
No, it is what it is. So now we need protection. Protect us, please, director.
Please.
Ladies coming too hard for me.
Oh my God.
No. Okay. All right. We are live. Let's go. Leigh-Ann was just telling me now she got a motivational message from someone that's 27 minutes long.
Yeah, it's from my mom. It's called "Focus on God, not your problems."
So 27 minutes, huh? Would you be able to dedicate 27 minutes to God this morning, Leigh-Ann, or are you too good for God?
I'm so glad that my mom has that time. I'm being serious. She deserves it.
Okay.
You know, everybody actually really deserves a retirement.
Yes.
And to
Not
be able
actors.
to be able to spend
Not
27
actors, everyone
minutes
else.
with God in the morning.
Yeah, I mean, I can imagine a very serene existence dedicating 27 minutes to communing with God. That's a great way to start
And
your day.
bettering yourself and thinking of positive thoughts.
Absolutely.
Religion aside.
Yes. Now you get to commune with James, who's in the studio here to give us a little bit of a recap of the sport for the weekend.
Hello.
So, hello, James. What happened?
I will tell you shortly. I actually just want to see what happened with Accrington Stanley.
No, nobody. No, haven't we left them alone now?
We will never leave them alone.
Okay,
Ever.
all right.
In the world of football and sport. They lost 4-0 this weekend.
God, it's just a shit show for Accrington Stanley.
I don't think
it?
we've done them good.
I think when we started paying attention to them, it
shitter.
started getting worse and worse. Oh, all right, just leave them alone.
Someone else who it seems to be getting worse for is Liverpool, though.
Yes.
Because they lost this weekend, 3-2 to Fulham. Still top of the log, still winning the league. So that happened this weekend. I had a little cry. And then I moved on because that's what you got to do.
But did you actually cry?
No.
I need to understand something about real sports fans. And you claim to be a Liverpool fan.
I have.
All right. And have you got the betting?
Weirdly, I used to, but
You used
when
to have the
I
betting.
was much younger, not like last year.
What, when you were 11?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, right.
Yeah.
Fine.
It
Fair
was like
enough.
red and really bright. And
Yeah,
a lot going on.
don't be embarrassed by that. My nephews are 10 and 8, and they have all kinds of soccer memorabilia and stuff around them all the time.
Mm.
But what age do you stop using the linen from Accrington Stanley, for example? When do you sell your Accrington Stanley
probably
duvet?
when these people have got married.
When they get
but
married.
But they want to.
You mean before then?
Yes.
Until a wife tames them, they are such
Go
fucking.
and plant yourself in Liverpool and use Tinder and see what profile pictures come up.
You're actually probably not wrong, eh?
Oh no.
Really?
So they get married, but they never stop wishing that they had that linen. I can't live with that mindset.
Wow, guys are pathetic. We often criticize men and women on the show, but this is now a new low. You reckon that only when they get married do some of these
Only by
guys
force.
give up that linen?
Yeah.
The Liverpool or Man United or
100%.
unbelievable. That's their happy place until then. And it takes a wife to civilize them.
But they will never stop wishing.
God, how pathetic.
Sometimes in the UK, it's also like it's not weird for
The
you
wife.
being married and your couple, your bedroom is also themed as a
that's
whatever
true.
team you guys support. Or
The wife may be in on it, and it'll be a
grown man.
shrine to
A shrine.
a grown man.
A shrine to Accrington Stanley.
Yeah.
I mean, that's it.
100%.
Life peaks.
Wow. Okay. Yeah, you see, I never had that funny bedding. It was never a thing. But I can understand. Fine. All right. What time of your life did you eventually get rid of that?
Sure, I'm not actually sure. Probably
Early
not after.
teens.
Not long after 11, probably.
Okay. Yeah.
But it
starts getting embarrassing.
It's true. I do think back to it. In Liverpool, because they're red, there
Oh,
was a lot of red going on in my
Yeah.
bedroom. So
not great.
red
All right.
flag.
So tell us about the other football.
The other football that happened this weekend, Arsenal drew 1-1 to the other club that's also in Liverpool, Everton. Spurs, they won 3-1. And in a very boring Manchester derby, both teams drew 0-0. Liverpool is still top of the log, though, which is all that matters. Arsenal in second and Forest surprisingly in third. So the Premier League's starting to look like it did in like 1991.
Wow.
With like Nottingham Forest being up there, Arsenal kind of challenging for stuff, and just Liverpool being the greatest ever. So it's a good time to be a football fan because Man City aren't doing much, and neither are Man United. So that's the world of football.
I have nothing to add.
Great. In the world of Formula One, there was a Japanese Grand Prix this weekend. Max Verstappen took the win. He also set the fastest qualifying time on Saturday morning with 1 minute 26 odd seconds. Fastest time ever at that circuit in a Formula
So
One.
that's to do a lap around the whole circuit.
1 minute 26 something.
That's very quick.
very, very fast. Those cars move
And I
very
mean,
quickly.
also, because I often worry that these things must be boring for people. But, at 1 minute 23, it's like he's a blur. It goes past you so fast.
This weekend's race, though, was a little bit boring. Not much happened. Lots of just blurs. That was pretty much all that happened. Just a lot of blurs.
No accidents.
Nah, not really. There was one almost accident with Lando Norris and Max Verstappen, who are actually besties. So it was weird to see them have like a little moment on the track. But yeah, Max took the win. Nobody's beaten him there since 2019. The two McLaren cars came in second and third.
Okay.
So that's the Formula One this weekend. There was also the Singapore Sevens. Fiji won the men's while the Black Ferns took the women's trophy.
That's New Zealand.
That's New Zealand, correct. And then the Blitzboks, they finished in ninth. They played Great Britain. They lost to them by quite a margin.
Poor ninth.
I know. We used
That's
to
really
do the
actually
things
quite
at these
poor.
things, right?
Okay, yeah. Not impressed with that.
Yeah, the worst part about it, I think, is that we lost to Great Britain 38-10, which is quite a scoreline. So yeah, that happened. Then the other World Rugby EPCR Cup, the Sharks fielded a second strong team against Leon. And with that, they are no longer in the Cup. The Bulls have progressed to the quarters and will face Edinburgh as the only SA team left. And then lastly, the Investec Champions Cup. The big teams all went through with just Munster causing the only upset, taking down La Rochelle 24-25. And that is the sport.
All right. Well, we're all sitting on tenterhooks waiting to hear what you think of the great Russ Abbot song Atmosphere.
Love.
because that's our big discovery of the weekend.
My new
I think
favorite artist.
At every party ever, that has to be the headlining song.
It will.
Right?
It'll be my 50th birthday party too.
There we go. 50th.
Oh,
Huh?
I
It's a
think I
long
might
way
buy
off
a
for
song.
You would
James.
actually rather have that song playing in your life every day rather than that alarm.
Oh,
Yo, that alarm
anything.
is-
Has the alarm stopped?
It has.
I think I'd rather have the alarm.
I think my
Okay,
ears
so
are
just
storing.
in case you've just come in now, we all arrived here at the office this morning and this alarm was going off, but the loudest.
Yeah, it made your eyes water.
ear piercing noise of
Phys-
pain.
It made me want to.
Physical pain.
Yeah, it was sore, right?
Mm.
Flex, are you managing there? Still recovering as well. Okay, so you see, that's what we have to deal with here. All right, thank you very much, James.
Thank you, guys.
Very, very good. I want you to see what someone sent. This is an Iranian TV show.
Mm.
Okay, before the Ayatollahs came.
Oh, okay.
So while there was still the Shah in Iran, so pre-1979, I think it was. This is the kind of show that they used to have. Now, the clip starts with what kind of shit people have to watch now. And then it quickly goes to 1979 and what they watched before the crazy Ayatollahs took over. So take a look. Here's how it starts.
صبحی که برای شب عاشق نگاه سنگ صبوره بیا این تن و از سایه جدا کن دل تنگم و از گره رها کن بیا با غزل تازه چشما منو زار درگاه خدا کن.
Much happier in the past.
Much
and
happier, right?
Much
Because
less
those,
crazy.
those mullahs shouting at each other and all like trying to out sing each other.
Not sure what's happening there.
It's not great. And Persian carpets everywhere. It's kind of a bit cliched.
Yeah.
But then the chick going Muri Shikaturi or whatever she's saying, I think that's much happier.
yeah.
And she looks, she doesn't have to wear the yashmak or whatever the fuck it's called. And she looks very happy.
Mhm.
And he looks a bit of a pedo moustache, but he looks very happy.
Yeah.
I think
A
very
lot more
good.
sane.
See, so sometimes things don't progress, sometimes they regress.
Yes.
That's the important lesson for us to learn today.
Exactly.
Mm. And then, do you know what a dongfish is?
Does it look like one? Is it a fish that looks like one?
I will show you what a dongfish looks like,
Mm.
and then you will learn some other words that you didn't know existed. Here is a dongfish. Okay.
Oh.
The hongus. Sorry,
Horn-
humgus.
It is horngus.
No, it's the humgus of a
Humgus.
dongfish is attached by a scungle to a kind of dill sack.
In brackets.
The nut
The
sack.
nut. Nutte.
All right, so there's a lot going on there, but that
Okay.
is apparently a dongfish.
So it's a tiny little fish,
Mhm.
quite
Yeah.
nondescript, really.
Yeah,
But it has hanging from its belly
the humgus.
a little tiny tentacle with an enormous dingleberry.
Hmm. So there we go. And those words, scungle, dill sack, nut sack, humgus. I'm not sure what's going on there. But I thought, necessary for us to take a look at.
But you know what? If you read that, even though you don't know what those things are, it perfectly describes what's in the image.
Okay. You say so. Very good.
Like if you hadn't seen the fish and someone read you that description,
Still, I'd be confused.
you might get some of it right.
Okay, well, do you remember the talented woman who brought us pubes for jewelry?
Oh, yes.
Now she's got a latest offering, which is even more exciting than that. So just remind those
I'll
people who
remind
may
you.
have missed out on the wonderful salutary story of
It's
a woman who turned her pubic hair into jewelry.
It started quite innocently with not innocently, but it was many steps back, like a skin cell or a piece of hair or, saliva even. And then it turned into blood. You know how some people will wear a vial of blood?
Yeah, didn't Angelina Jolie do that for a while?
And this is quite a contemporary jewelry artist. She
Mhm.
makes beautiful pieces. But the stuff that she uses to make them is getting more and more bizarre. But people are buying these things and they're becoming like trendy. So the last time I saw was when she had pubes that were put into kind of like these little amber blobs. You could have your partner's pubes around your neck.
Okay, yeah.
Okay, so
I'll suspend
this is her
disbelief. Go on.
latest. And instead of just playing her, because she's quite boring, it's narrated by one of my favorite TikTok stars.
All right, here we are. Go on, guys.
What on God's green earth is that?
My client sent in their semen sample.
Your client sent in what?
Their semen sample.
Why?
Processed it into a powder, and of course now I'm incorporating it into the clay for a wire-wrapped pendant.
Oh, Mary, Mother of Jesus, I'm sorry I asked.
Now, for part of the oval pendant, we want just the natural semen coloring.
Oh, it just keeps getting worse and worse.
Of course, I did have leftovers, so I made a complimentary gummy bear.
I'm sorry, love, you're going to have to repeat that again. A what bear?
Complimentary gummy bear to...
Leave it out.
I always love when you guys bring new ideas that end up being so flippin' cool.
I'm just confused as to what point in your life do you think, do you know what I'm going to do? Is I'm going to dehydrate semen. I'm just going to make it into jewelry.
And thank you for trusting me with the creative freedom aspect. I love you guys for that so much.
Listen, I know it's cost of living crisis and I really appreciate your entrepreneurial spirit, but have a day off.
I almost want to keep this for myself.
Oh, you absolute wrong'un. I'm on off this planet. And no more. No, too much internet.
You know,
I don't know. No, I don't know, Gareth.
all right, well,
I don't.
in the Middle Ages, if you'd collected fluids from someone, whatever fluids, blood, saliva, semen, whatever it was, and you'd done anything like make a pendant or a
Yes.
potion, they would have called you.
A witch.
And what do we do with witches?
We burn them.
Exactly. So find this woman and burn her. She's making
But
evil talismans. That's what she's doing.
no.
Let me tell you
I
something.
don't think
If I discovered, and I think there are probably a lot of very messed up women and men out there who've had terrible relationships, and they would make something like this and use it for evil, voodoo.
I do not have a problem with her.
You don't.
She can do that as much as she likes. I have a problem with people sending in their semen samples and wanting it to be put into a pendant so their partner can wear it. Those are the people I have a problem with. Not her. She can make stuff out of dongfish balls for all I care.
Humguses.
She can, to her heart's content, let her sit in her, what do witches have?
A hut.
In her hut with her cauldron and let her make to her heart's content what she wants. But the day I maybe feel like wearing my partner's semen in a pendant, you need to do something for me and just kill me.
All right. I'm telling you, this stuff has been happening for years. It's not a big deal, this. Americans jizz. That's what they're calling it. AI can now take over. It seems like the human race is doomed anyway, says Dirk. I was just thinking that this is why witches got burnt at the stake, says Dave. Exactly. I'm telling you. It's all happening. All right. Very, very good. Make it stop. She turned me into a newt. Okay, we've got to move on. We've got important things to discuss here. We don't have all day to just be stupid. All right, so on the line, I just heard him cough, is Big Daddy Liberty. Hello, Sihle Ngobese. How are you?
A wonderful good morning to you. I hope you can hear me clearly. But good
Loud
to
and
be
clear.
on the show. Gareth, very weird segment there.
I know.
Which is working with
I know.
semen.
Yeah.
I'm half expecting to enter her flat and see a cake with a swallow
Yeah.
in there. But anyway,
you know what? Can I tell you something? You're a Zulu man. You know what umtagati are, right?
Quite literally.
Yeah. Yeah. Umtagati.
Yeah, literally in this case.
Yeah.
But anyway, good to have me on the show.
Yeah, it is good to have you on the show. So listen, we've got a lot to talk about this morning, but first and foremost, are you making a comeback? Because you used to do regular stuff on the internet. You got thousands and thousands of followers. You became one of the voices of reason. Lots of people, including me, used to see what you were up to, and it would help us to figure out what was going on in politics and society and the economy, all of this stuff. And then you took on a real job, and we haven't heard from you for a while. So what's happening?
Yes, it has been a rather interesting hiatus for a bit. But yeah, I'm happy to actually announce it perhaps here on the Real Network that I'll be doing exactly that, joining the Real Network as of this month. I don't know if you're trying to say something, Gareth.
No, that's good.
I sort of hear your voice. Okay,
that's
there
good.
we go. But nonetheless, I will be joining the Real Network. Indeed, the Big Daddy Liberty Show's talking point will be on this network, and we'll be providing the news analysis that you will get nowhere else except here.
Well, that is exciting because I find that it's very, very difficult to discern now who is honest and who can bring you stories and tell you the truth and help you to understand things. There are so many people who are doing the job of propaganda for God knows who. And we found out that, you know, journalists in this country have been paid by NGOs and overseas money. We find out that many of our media houses are current platforms in South Africa that we've trusted for a long time are no longer trustworthy. It's very difficult to find people who you can actually take for granted and take seriously and consider as reputable sources for the news.
And again, that's effectively part of what the show talking point will be. It'll be us taking the major headlines that happen in a month and basically providing the analysis through a classically liberal lens that looks at the argument from all sides. You know, what do individuals from the left say about an issue? What do individuals from the right even say about the issue? And of course, how do we as South Africans, or how should we perhaps as we as South Africans see the issues? And of course, then digest them with the view of taking action in whatever capacity people want to act in. And again, please, people, let me take a second there to quickly say this. I'm not going to be leading anything or, telling people what they must do or whatever the case may be, but rather providing the tools, the analytical tools that we should be using to analyze the claims made by those who are in power in society. And let's just say this, being in power is a very familiar thing to me right now, but nonetheless, this is what the show will help people do, to unpack the gobbledygook, to unpack the rhetoric, and actually begin to hold people also to account for what they say and do.
Well, I want to ask you, since we're talking about this, it would be stupid of me to have you on the show, have you announce that you're going to start your own show and not talk about what's going on. So is the GNU going to fall apart? What do we know? And we've seen so much noise from all corners of the internet in the last while. We had our budget vote, which seems to have been a very close thing. What do you think, just based on entirely what you as Sihle Ngobese are watching politically unfold, not because of any inside info necessarily, but what do you think is going to happen with the GNU? Is it going to survive?
Well, also, let me just quickly put a disclaimer out. I do not have any inside info for as much as I am within the belly of the beast. I too, in that sense, have skin in the game, and there is a lot of uncertainty. And perhaps it's that last word that I'll kick off in giving my sense of where we are at the moment. I do think the uncertainty is created effectively by two major reasons. And allow me 30 seconds to unpack this.
Go on.
The first is a political party who they know very well that they lost the previous election and South Africans rejected them having another electoral majority, giving them about 40%. And of course, I'm talking about the ANC. In this regard, this is a political party that one could argue is perhaps still going through the stages of grief, and acceptance isn't something they've quite fully gotten to yet. And we're seeing them play that out, right? Where there's a lot of pleading, there's a lot of effectively, sorrow that they're going through, and a unwillingness to actually understand that they need to share power. And that they actually, if they're going to create what they call a government of national unity that has all these parties in it, parties who, by the way, told us, that is the opposition parties, who told us ahead of the election that we should be voting against the status quo of the ANC insofar as its policy outlook and what it's been doing for the last 30 years, trying to roll out a socialist vision of the national democratic revolution. Again, their documents, their policies. You have these political parties that then entered the government on that understanding, that they're there to bring gradual reforms. And I use the word gradual because it would be foolish to believe that there would have been a wholesale change of everything in government. Things were always going to be a hard slog and a gradual fight. Indeed, it's on that basis that even people like me, who are very skeptical of politicians, actually joined politics in the sense of government, because the view was there is a very tiny sliver of opportunity here to actually bring real reform, gradual as it may be, into government, with the view of 2029 being the election where perhaps we might see more wholesale changes. So that was, again, my understanding of what was the whole intention of the GNU. So then it whittles down to where we are now, where that very same political party is resisting any attempt to bring any form of meaningful or even gradual change by way of the DA, having it played, of course, its hand in trying to use the budget as leverage to bring reform. That's what the DA was doing here. That's the sort of high-stakes brinkmanship that we've been seeing play out over the last few weeks, to which that leverage, if you will, and bear in mind, these opposition parties, whether they're within the GNU or outside of it, have very little leverage that they can actually use to twist the arm, if you will, of the ANC into moving into a direction of change. And that leverage was using the budget to say, listen, we'll help you pass the budget as long as you pass reforms that actually achieve the very thing that we haven't had for the last, let's call it 15, 18 years, which is meaningful economic growth that brings the unemployment into the economy and actually allows people to have an income, from an income savings, and from savings purchase a higher standard of living. The fact that you have the ANC not wanting that should tell you everything you need to know around how these negotiations are playing out at the moment.
Yeah, I think that's a very good analysis. But I look at some of these comments, and maybe you want to comment on the comments. But Vutsako saying, I used to be pro-GNU, but the DA leaving will lead to the ANC imploding. Dirk says it's now a pissing contest to see if the DA will resign or Cyril will fire them. The DA was opposed to the oppressive tax to muster the looting purse. People were saying it's an amazing thing. I even mentioned on Friday that you've got the DA, the EFF, and MK on one side. These are not normal bedfellows. No. Not people who you would ordinarily assume would have anything in common. They were saying no more taxes. The people of this country cannot handle any more tax. And on the other side, you've got the ANC and then these minnow parties, including Herman Mashaba and Musi Maimane and all the rest of them, who were falling in line to bring more taxes down on South Africans.
And it's been a spectacular failure of political strategy by some of these political parties within and, of course, outside of the GNU, where they couldn't read the room. And the writing, insofar as the DA was painting it on the walls of Parliament in those various budget committees, was in bold font, which is, hey, man, we have some leverage here. Let's use it to get some things that we know will create the sort of South Africa that we want, or at least begin to move us in that direction. And here you have these small parties, and I'll name names. Here's Action SA with Herman and Mashaba, and of course, Build on South Africa and a few more. Even the PA, rather disappointingly, really couldn't read that and say, hey, how can we get something for our constituents and South Africans broadly that bring the sort of reforms that we actually campaigned on prior to this election? This was their moment. And they simply fluffed it. Why? Because there's this weird belief that these parties are here to play, rubber stamp or yes men to the ANC. That's not what the GNU should be about. And I think political parties within it should start defining that, to say, hey, we're not here as spectators, that, as John Steenhuisen said this past weekend speaking in Phoenix at a DA event, we're not there to be spectators. We're there to bring the sort of reforms that they promised to voters. And again, another quick disclaimer here, Gareth, because I must say it. I'm not a member of any political party. I'm not a card-carrying member of any political party. I just happen to work at the moment within a ministry.
Yeah. Okay. So, and that ministry is the agriculture ministry, but who knows what might happen there? So what is interesting here is, and I'd like to have your thoughts on Herman Mashaba and the unbelievable miscalculation they made, because it seems that they were trying to take credit for not raising taxes when in fact they were part of the "we are going to raise taxes" lobby.
Mm-hmm.
Very confusing.
Again, this is you're right. This is the foolishness that we're beginning to see play out in some political parties. And what I mean by foolishness is a complete and utter lack of political strategy, the ability to see things before they happen. Again, I'm not saying they're witches, because that's how we entered the segment. But we there's a failure here, and also we're beginning to see as South Africans perhaps other matters come to the fore that are making parties decide how they act, and those matters could be political grudges between various political parties, because again, it stupefies anybody that Action SA, for instance, would make that claim when South Africans can see that it's patently false. Whenever you have the ANC saying, "Oh dear, we're being held by the balls here," by again these references considering the segment. But anyway, we're being held by the balls here by small parties and the DA over the budget, and woe is us, what can we do? And the ANC then starts shopping around to be supported on this budget, and then you have these small parties that say, "Well, actually, why should we bother asking for any reforms that we campaigned on to South Africans, and let's give the ANC what they want." The very same status quo, high taxes, high spending, and indeed wasteful spending budget that we've seen for the past 30 years. The very stuff that South Africans said we are tired of in the last election. It is a massive betrayal of South Africans for these small parties to simply give in to the ANC like that. And again, it speaks to how damaged perhaps they, and maybe also to us rather, as South Africans are, insofar as the political outlook and the lexicon. The ANC have successfully created a political universe, if you will, a bit like Marvel, where yes, you have multiple characters and different storylines and multiverses, but at the end of the day, they are the ones who control the multiverse to an extent. They define the overall language, the rules, if you will, of the multiverse. And that these characters, if you will, can't break past that, no matter what their individual trials and tribulations are. That's almost the most apt analysis one can use right now. And here you have the DA actually saying, actually, no, we're going to collect all those gemstones. We're going to collect all them gemstones and put it in a glove and try and snap our fingers. But almost at the point of snapping their fingers like Thanos to get their way, Action SA and a few other parties stole that glove, or at least the gemstone. So that's where we are at the moment. And I think the DA, again, much as I'm saying, I don't support any political party, I do support what the DA have been doing and are still doing now, including taking this matter to court to perhaps have a review. And there's a whole line, a thread, or a stream of consciousness of analysis around that, because that, for me, right now, will make or break what happens in the GNU, including what happens to my job.
All right, but Sihle, let's just talk about what kinds of stuff you want to cover on your show, because I know that you're more interested in some things than others. Obviously, politics can get very boring and tedious. We can easily get distracted in this country, and often are. We're very easily distracted by race stuff. We're very easily distracted by, AfriForum meeting with US delegations in Washington.
Allegedly.
Allegedly. I mean, this stuff seems to just drive people absolutely crazy. What do you think the biggest issues in South Africa are, and what are the things that you want to focus on?
Absolutely. Again, what you're going to see on the show is what I've been doing perhaps for the last, 6-7 years, I think, which is talk to ordinary South Africans. Yes, the show will probably every now and then have a high-profile guest, whether they're a politician, a thought leader, or whatever the case may be. But effectively, mostly what we'll be doing is taking issues that are in the news cycle, putting it to ordinary South Africans on the ground, and bringing you those segments and then the analysis on the show. That will be the whole point to Talking Point, is having you hear what fellow South Africans are actually saying about given issues. And some of those issues might be politics, yes, but a lot of them will be issues that I think really define what South Africans really care about. And again, if you don't know what I'm talking about, take a moment, go to my channel on YouTube and have a look at the What South Africa Can Be campaign that I did, which did exactly this. Ahead of the election, I traveled literally the length and breadth of this country, talking to South Africans from small dorpies, big towns, and of course major cities, asking them what can South Africa be, and doing so through the lens of various issues that polling and data shows that South Africans really care about.
I love
education, safety and security, and healthcare and other issues. Go ahead, Gareth.
What I love about this is that you've done the heavy lifting already in terms of asking South Africans what they care about and what kind of a vision they see, because we know our politicians aren't going to provide us with a vision of the future. They don't have any. So we have to come up with it ourselves. What kind of South Africa do people want? What would they really like? What are their priorities? Give me like a top 5 of things that people are grappling with and dealing with on a daily basis, and things that they'd like to see South Africa move towards.
Absolutely. You very quickly find out when you actually speak to real on-the-ground South Africans that the issues they care about are miles apart from what the politicians who affect to trade on their behalf claim that they actually believe. And, you know, you'll have a politician stand in the pulpit and say, well, actually, people care about, you know, the land. And, you know, they want to expropriate properties across the country. Indeed, they want people want us politicians, they'll say, to have all the power to make decisions on who are the winners and losers in society. And when you then talk to ordinary people and say, hey, man, what's your top 10 priorities? Land is not even in that top 10. It's sort of, if you look at the polling data, it's usually around issue number between 12 and 15. And at the top 3, top 5 issues, if you will, that people really care about are linked around core values that South Africans share, and that often politicians trying to divide us about. And Gareth, please give me 30 seconds to hash this one out.
Go for it.
I always say the values that my show stands for, my channel as the Big Daddy Liberty channel, is this idea of who we are as South Africans, the common thread that ties us together. It's faith, the flag, our love of country, not necessarily love of government or politician, but love of country. Faith, flag, family as an institution that builds. It's the first building block of any functional society, the family. And of course, freedom. These are the very things that South Africans care about and that we have commonality. We find commonality amongst each other: faith, flag, family, and freedom. And, you know, there's an extra one that I'll tag on there. It's very recent, but I won't get into that, which is facts. South Africans love facts. They like being well informed on the issue. So that's then what the show will represent. And it will represent, if you will, from that perspective, from that prism, if you will, the key issues that South Africans talk about most, which is, am I safe? Am I living in a society where I can almost guarantee that if I go out for a run or a walk, if I'm driving to work, whatever the case may be, am I actually safe in this country? Safety is almost the number one issue if you look at data and polling in this country. The second issue is around safety and security, of course, is also education. Do my children have the best opportunity, the best shot at escaping these sort of grinding levels of poverty that have defined South Africa, especially Black South Africans, since our colonial apartheid and even today in the society? And education, we've always understood. And this is where politicians fluff things up a bit, you know, by saying, no, real empowerment is about some deal I give you as a politician that creates a crony network that then becomes corrupt. But actually, South Africans understand that real empowerment is a solid quality education that allows people to pursue their interests and indeed transition into the economy. And of course, the last one, in terms of just me mentioning the top 3, is on healthcare. Is the healthcare in this country allowing me to be able to replenish my labor, be healthy, and an effective contributor, if you will, to society and the economy? I'll add one more, which is the economy, actual jobs. Again, it's actually around number 2. I don't know why I put it at number 4, but in any event, it's those 4 issues become the mainstay of what is on the tongues of South Africans. And unfortunately, if you watch the mainstream media, if you listen to our politicians in this country, that's not the 4 issues that are often being discussed.
No.
Gareth, you rightly pointed out that we're talking about Donald Trump and, you know, whether AfriForum is doing this or that, all other sort of, again, I won't call them frivolous issues. They are issues in themselves, but the core issues that define what South Africans think about, how they dream, if you will, about being about what it is to be a South African, no one is really having those conversations. And I'm hoping my show will fill that gap.
I love this. Okay, so Congo Chris points out, Big Daddy Liberty says, flag, family, freedom. This is what IOL will say. Is Big Daddy Liberty a black face of right-wing white supremacy?
Yeah. Well, I don't know who's IOL Independent Online.
Yeah, those
I don't know
guys.
what the reference is.
Yeah.
But no, what people sort of weirdly dismiss as right-wing is arguably what the vast majority of South Africans believe in. Again, don't take it from me. I mean, if you want to dismiss me as the crazy right-winger, it's amazing how classical liberals and libertarians are now right-wingers. But nonetheless, if you want to dismiss us as the crazy right-wingers, okay, then fine. Talk to most South Africans when you walk down the street, and they too will echo sentiments that revolve around these core principles, these core tenets, their faith as South Africans. And again, I'm not being prescriptive. South Africa is a mostly 86% Christian country. There are other religious groupings too. A strong Muslim community, strong Hindu community. In Durban, where I'm from. Shout out to my Hindu folks.
Yeah.
You have and these religions define our values to a large extent.
Mm-hmm.
And again, when I talk about faith, it's more along those lines. That we're based and grounded people by a lot of these principles. A love of South Africa, the flag, whether we have our disagreements with government is irrelevant. The point is, if you see a South African abroad, again, all you need to do sometimes is travel to see what I'm talking about.
And actually
if you
speak
meet
to
a
people.
South African, exactly. If you meet South African in some airport in, Addis Ababa, whatever the case may be, you guys will strike up a conversation as if you're family.
Mm-hmm.
Again,
I couldn't agree more.
There's
And I
other
think
principles too.
Congo Chris makes the good point here that being mildly centrist these days means you're basically Hitler to some people. Derek Barker says, I love Sihle's views. About time he graced our screens on the show. Well, he's got his own show coming up again, and he'll be returning gloriously. Okay, then 16% of GDP going to state wage bill, unsustainable. Any comments on that from Kevin?
Yeah, it is. And again, you'll forgive me, I'm slightly conflicted in this one because I'm part of that demographic. But again, I think the principle still stands, though. And even as a government official, I will say this. There is a need for us to reprioritize effectively how the state spends money. You want more and most of the money. Firstly, you want most of the money to be in the hands of actual South Africans. The state shouldn't be taxing as much as it does. And this is the principle which I brought with me into government. Because again, remember what I said. When we took the decision to enter this GNU, when my particular minister said, hey man, do you want to come onto this ministry because you are actually a farmer? That's the basis in which I joined this particular ministry. I said, I do so on the understanding that, there are certain ideas that I bring that I'm hoping will gradually try and put into the state lexicon and indeed the political lexicon as we try and reform government. And one of those is that government should be much smaller than it is. And that actually the resources should be, the power and the resources, should be in the hands of South Africans. It's one of the things that we're trying to do from our perspective in terms of driving these sort of reforms. But to answer the question directly, it is too big. And it is a conversation that the politicians, at the very least, have to have insofar as the decision makers, the decisions they make, from a policy perspective.
So just tell us quickly, because you kind of referred to the fact that you're a farmer. Tell us about that, because people don't necessarily know unless they've been paying a lot of attention to what you've been doing over years now. But tell us a little bit about your background. Give us a bit of context for Sihle Ngobese.
Absolutely. I'll be very brief on this one because I am a bit private for as much as I'm a public personality in a sense. But I'm a third generation farmer. My grandfather started a sugarcane and gum tree plantation in KZN, which he grew with his sweat, blood, and tears, up into becoming a somewhat commercial-ish enterprise. Now, it's fallen into a bit of disrepair when he died, but, his son, if you will, then took over the enterprise, built it up, and I, to an extent more recently, have also tried to run the enterprise. So farming is very much within my blood. And again, if you look at the people who come from my area of KZN, in fact, most KZN residents, will have some form of rural homestead that we have, where there is either a agricultural entity or rather business there, or or an emerging one happening there. So farming is very much in the blood of a lot of South Africans. The real issue becomes, in terms of my personal interests, what does the policy environment allow for? Often when you talk about agriculture in South Africa, it's the first thing people do is racialize it. Oh, those rich white farmers, they'll tell us. They're hoarding all the resources and they're yapati yapata.
Yeah.
But in reality, farming is not about that. It's a community, and it's a community that's desperate, if you will, for a policy environment that is enabling, that's based on creating freedom and access to trade. And where there are those individuals who are emerging and up and coming, most of whom happen to be Black, the state should play some role in giving them a leg up, with the view of them becoming commercial, self-reliant, self-sufficient is what I think I was looking for, and of course accessing markets. So those are my interests. Those are the things that drove me to say, okay, cool, I'll give it a shot and enter this GNU if I can bring the ideas that can advance, and grow that agricultural sector, and do so from three perspectives. One, giving people access to finance and capital so that they can grow their businesses. Number two, securing their property rights. Property rights is not just a Black or a white issue. It's a all farmers and indeed all South Africans issue. If you don't have secure access to your property, whether it's the ownership and the ability to transfer it yourself, then farming cannot happen in South Africa. That's why we are wholly rejecting things like expropriation without compensation or any of these dubious ideas that seek to undermine property rights. And of course, the last one is access to markets and trade. These are the things that create real wealth, especially for emerging farmers. That's how we build our income. And that's the whole purpose, for instance, as to why I joined the GNU and my background as a farmer.
I love it. All right, so here's a good point from Carl. He says, it's unbelievably easy to fix this country's problems. Anyone with enough power and half a brain could get us to 5% growth in less than 12 months. I mean, do you think our economic problems are self-imposed? And by self, I mean that the government has caused these problems for us? Because I just see a lot of real hustler culture in South Africa. I see a lot of people who are doing the best they can to bring money home, to be able to put food on the table. I see people starting little spaza shops and businesses and caravans that sell food and, all these kinds of things that people don't seem, it's not like South Africans are lazy. It's not like we're sitting there waiting for handouts. We are actually very pragmatic people. And you mentioned conservative values, but we're also very pragmatic. We will do what we need to do to put money in the bank. So is it as simple as the government has made it hard for us to do what we need to do? Or are there other extenuating factors?
No, absolutely. I was just saying the short answer is yes. The state, unfortunately, for the past 30 years has been a tool, an instrument for actually, on the one hand, denying some South Africans opportunity, whether it be economic or whatever the case may be. And on the other, trying to inject itself into all aspects of South African life. This is a conversation, if you listen to some organizations that sort of share my worldly view or worldview, will say is counterproductive to the sort of South Africa that we say we want it to be. The state should be, at best, a referee, an arbitrator of our disputes as South Africans. And really, there's only really three roles to the state. The first is to protect us from foreign aggression. That's why we have a military, a diplomatic corps, a presidency, if you will, to an extent. The second is to protect us from domestic issues, whether it's the petty criminal or armed, super violent, cash in transit criminals, or whatever the case may be, but to provide a police force, a correctional system. And of course, the last one is to arbitrate our disputes. We're a country of 11 languages, multiple cultures, 60 million people. Of course, at some stage, we'll have disputes amongst each other. And therefore, you want a society that has a functional justice system to be able to arbitrate our disputes. Those are the three and only roles of the state. How you then build that state to accommodate those three roles is perhaps why I argue the state should be much smaller in its scope, but indeed also it honors those three functions. So yes, it is actually rather easy to fix our problems as South Africans, but we need to understand what the role of the state is and then begin and build our society out from that, where you want a society where the individual, and really I talk a lot about individuals as a classical liberal, but really we're a family society, Gareth. And insofar as I mentioned individuals, I'm talking about families. Families should be as self-reliant, self-sufficient, and empowered and income earning, so that whatever the state or government does or politicians do, becomes rather irrelevant to them because they themselves are, self-sufficient, as I said, self-reliant and income earning.
That's lovely. All right. I look forward to your show, and we will be announcing very, very shortly when all of that's about to take off. And thank you very much, Sihle Ngobese. We will catch up with you soon.
Thank you, Gareth. Good to have you. Good to be on the show. Yep.
Yeah.
Excuse me.
I'm on your show. You're on my show. Let's go. All right. I love it. Thank you, Sihle. Very good to see you. All right. So we've got just a couple of minutes left of this morning. I see a couple of interesting comments here. Dirk Kutsia says, the informal hair salon sector is worth over 50 billion rand. That's why we don't have riots every day, because the unemployed are hustling and the ANC know it.
It's massive.
Yeah.
In fact, one of my clients is an ethnic hair care brand, so I know that for a fact.
Yeah.
It's huge.
Conga Chris says, good show today, no matter what Mapelo says. We've got a military and one working jet. I saw a funny thing yesterday. I think we have one or two boats, naval vessels that are in working order, right?
Yeah.
Which is less than Jan van Riebeeck had when he landed here in 1652, because he had 3. Okay?
Yeah.
How embarrassing is that?
Goodness
1652's Navy was stronger than now. Unbelievable.
Sure.
All the research on understanding has been done to death. We know how to fix things, just get the right people to implement it. I think that's spot on too.
Yeah, that's the thing. Every time you start a new year or a new government period, it always starts at the bottom, which is research. And then it never gets to an implementation phase.
It gets stuck at research.
Yeah.
Very irritating. All right. That's all we got time for this morning, but we will be back on Wednesday at 6 a.m. bright and early. Hope you have an awesome week this week, and you can definitely feel like summer's done, huh?
Yeah, I think we're done.
Summer's done. There's no more kind of going around in t-shirts and.
Well, I'm in one short sleeve.
It's gonna be chilly soon.
Yeah.
Time for fires and getting all that shit
electric
together.
Blanket on.
Mm-hmm. All right. Have a good week.
Who's there?
No, I'm knocking.
No, I'm knocking who?
I'm knocking. It's your turn.
Oh, right.
We interrupt this program for an important news item. World leaders held an emergency summit meeting in Zurich today after spy satellite pictures revealed a buildup of foreign missiles in space. General Zod, rebel leader of planet Krypton, told our reporter earlier today, I am about to conquer the world.
Conquer the world?
Well, that's what he said.
We're doomed. We're doomed. There's only one man can save the universe.
Yes. This is a job for Cooper Man. Excuse me. I'm Bent. No. Clark Bent. I think you've got a telephone box. It's on the wall over there. Thank you. Man and woman, I feel a change coming on.